I'm with Liam O'Connor from Top 10 Marbella, one of the estate agencies that works with Kyero. Hi Liam, how you doing?
Very good, thank you. How are you doing?
Let's start with that accent. Where are you from?
I'm half Swedish, half Irish. Wow. So I'm a Swedish paddy. I grew up in Sweden. Then I moved to Ireland when I was 19. Stayed there for 2.5 years, met a girlfriend. We came to Spain on our first vacation, which was after we were dating for 6 months. So we came here and we decided, that was in October of 2019. And we thought, why would we be in Ireland when we could be in Spain? We're drinking mojitos on the beach. So we just went back, quit our jobs, and never looked back.
Okay, so now let's talk about Top 10. Tell me about the agency, where it is, what area you cover, etc.
Our office is in Fuengirola, Carretera de Mijas, 22. We cover the whole coast, basically from Benalmádena to Sotogrande. But I would say our niche area is from Benalmádena to Nueva Andalucía. Because we have a lot of Swedish clients, and Swedish clients tend to be in Fuengirola or Nueva Andalucía. Brits like Mijas Costa, La Cala de Mijas, and that's our focus or target. We haven't targeted North America specifically. We're focusing more on Europe. So British market has always been quite stable for us, even though it cooled off a bit. The Irish picked it up and the Swedish picked it up. So that's our main focus.
What services do you offer at Top 10 Marbella? Is it just sales or do you do rentals?
Just sales, and we are specifically buyer's agents. So we work with first-time buyers. They will need the most help. Working with first-time buyers coming from abroad, coming from the UK, the most important is finding the right area. And that's number one. And that's what I think a lot of clients, they're starting in the wrong end. They're starting by looking at properties compared to areas, which for me, it's the wrong way around.
Do you do just resales or do you also do off-plan?
We do resales, we do off-plan as well. But I would say mainly it's resale property because the clientele we have generally are a bit older, closer to retirement. They don't have the patience to wait 2 or 3 years for new development. They want to have it now and they want to enjoy it now. So that has been our focus.
And how long have you been with Top 10? You're one of the owners now, is that?
I'm the owner now after the previous director passed away. I've been with Top 10 since the start. So we literally started in the previous director's living room and then we expanded, went into an office. So I've been with him from the very start.
So when did you start in real estate here on the coast?
I started in 2020. So I'm coming up to just over 5 years.
During COVID? Oh.
Just after COVID. So COVID, I came in 2019. And I started September 2020.
Okay. So you've seen a very different market from post-COVID to now, I guess, no?
Very much so.
What would you say are the changes that you noticed over that time from your perspective?
We had a lot more stock. That's one thing for sure, because people were panicking. Both vendors were panicking, what's going to happen. Some people wanted to sell. And then we had a huge influx of people coming in, wanted to buy a property, get out of Sweden where it's -7, where they have some outside space. So selling a property back then was quite easy. You didn't need to have much knowledge, I would say. I think properties sold themselves, right. If I could be very honest. Compared to now, the stock is a lot less. It's very difficult to find a property. We talked about Benalmádena, where I used to live and where you live. It used to be quite a lot of stock in Benalmádena. Now it's a nightmare finding a property. I mean, even if you have a budget of 500,000 euro in Benalmádena, it's nearly impossible to find anything good. Compared to just after COVID, it was everywhere. You could just pick and choose.
Right. And so you're more of a buyer's agent. So how do you have access to all the properties that are for sale? How do you do that?
So we are a member of the MLS system Resales online. So that's a huge advantage. Of course, everything is not on resales. So that's where local connections come in. You need to have a network of your own. Sometimes Idealista can have something that resale don't. But I would say resales is our biggest advantage.
And in the last few years, what's happened, say, to property prices as the choice has gone down?
Prices has gone up quite a lot. I think if you take Calhonda for an example, as we cover Mijas Costa quite a lot, Calhonda has always been the place where you get most bang for your buck. You could find a decent property back then for 220, 230,000 euro. Now you couldn't find anything 350, under 350, I would say. Anything decent if you want to be walking distance to the beach and etc. So the prices have increased a lot.
Do you see it likely that the prices will continue growing as fast as they have, or do you think they may stop dropping? What's your view on that?
I don't see that we're going to go back. I see the price is going to cool off, which they already have if you compare 2023 to 2024. So I can see that, or I can expect that that's going to continue to be the case, that the market's going to cool down a bit. We're not going backwards. We're still going to be on top of inflation because Costa del Sol is a unique market. It's a bubble of itself. People who buy here, they don't buy because they have to. They buy because they can. My parents bought in Sweden because they had to. They have kids, they have schools, jobs. People coming here, it's a choice. So they're not affected if butter costs £2 more in the UK or what the case could be.
Right. Okay. When you moved here with your partner, what surprised you about the buying process over here?
Buying process was quite easy. What was a bit shocking was the closing costs, because we don't have that in Sweden, where you pay a transfer tax or IVA on a new development. You don't have a solicitor. Everything in Sweden is done by the agent. So they do the lawyer's job, the notary's job, the agent's jobs. Everything is done by the agent. Here you're meeting 3 different people at least. You're meeting a notary, you're meeting a lawyer, you're meeting an agent, and you're all paying them. So that was the biggest surprise for me.
Okay. And is that what you see that surprises your customers when you're taking them through the buying process?
The transfer tax can be a bit surprising for people. They don't take that into account. They think they have a budget of 300,000 and they'll buy a property for 300,000. That's not the case. I haven't had any obstacles when it comes to it, but it's a culture shock, right? Or
it's part of the process. I guess you got to do it. You got to explain it to them when they come in and you're dealing with them, to explain to them what the buying costs are and the process is. So in Sweden, where you're from, I think another difference is that the agents there it's highly regulated, isn't it?
Very true.
So there's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of training that goes into becoming an agent in Sweden. But what's it like over here by comparison?
Nothing at all. You can come off the airplane tomorrow and you can be an agent the day after. So it's not regulated, and it's quite easy to call yourself a real estate agent. You might sell your cousin's house and you're a estate agent, but that's not really the case. It is a very difficult business and it's hard to last. Many fail. Even though there's no regulation, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy for you.
How should a buyer choose an agent, given that anybody can become an agent over here? How do they know who to trust?
That's a difficult one. Who can you trust? It's not many people you can trust. I think you have to do your due diligence as a buyer. I mean, if you want to spend your life savings or your work, it doesn't matter if it's 200,000 or 600,000. It's hard work money. So you need to do your due diligence of the person. You have to meet him at some point, even if that's through a Zoom call or face-to-face. Do your due diligence about the company. Do they have an office? Are they working from the booth of a car? You can find out quite a lot by doing your research. And then, of course, I always recommend what I always tell my clients. I'm happy to refer you to my past clients so you can speak to them about their experience. And they will tell you, it's always some hiccups, right? It's not only the positive things. Well, this happened. We paid a deposit on the property, but the vendor decided to back down. Devastating, but it can happen. And it's good that potential buyers can hear the real stories from clients who actually bought.
Okay, so let's talk about nationalities. In the last three or so years that you've been doing this, have you seen any change in who's buying here on the coast?
We've been focusing on the European market. From the European market's point of view, see Hungarians came in quite a lot. In Hungary, you're either rich or you're poor. There's no really middle class.
Right.
Yeah, like we have in Sweden. So the rich ones, once the invasion happened with Ukraine and Russia, they started fleeing because the currency went down and a lot of problems happening in society by then. Polish came in very, very strong. I mean, serious money coming from Poland. Again, they have the gap. You're either poor or you're rich. It's no proper middle class. So I think Polish and Hungarian took over quite a bit.
What about the Swedish market? Has that been after COVID? They were one of the biggest nationalities that came here first to try and buy everything that they could.
Yeah.
Is that still as strong with the Swedish market? Or
No, it dropped a bit with the Swedish market. I think a lot of Swedish people made a lot of money. So if you look in Sagaleta, for example, you have a lot more Swedish buyers in Sagletta or Swedish owners in Sagletta than you had before. But the little ones, 300 to 500, they cooled off a bit. But the ultra-rich ones came in a bit more.
So if you could give one piece of advice to a potential buyer, someone that's looking from somewhere around Europe, looking to buy a home here on the Costa del Sol, what would be your number one piece of advice for them?
The first thing, focus on area. Don't start in the wrong end. Don't start looking at properties. You might find a beautiful apartment in Manila for 400,000 with a beautiful sea view and a nice big terrace, but that might not be the area for you. You might want to be in La Cala de Mijas, and those 400K, it's not going to reflect. It's going to be a different property, right? So if you're going to spend your hard-earned money that you worked your whole life for, do your due diligence of the area, look in the area, come down, stay for a week, go to Estepona, go to Marbella, go to La Cala de Mijas, and you might not find exactly the right area, but you might have a good idea. I want to be east of Marbella, I want to be west of Marbella. Pricing are quite different. So that's the most important.
You say that the inventory has been low throughout the whole coast after all the post-COVID shopping spree.
Yeah.
Are there any areas that you like that you think there's still some good value there that maybe people don't always notice?
This one is going to be a bit surprising, right? But I think Alhaurín de la Torre, if you look in Malaga direction, I think places like that, it's not exploited by the international market yet. It's more locals. And that's one of my favorite areas. People call me crazy for it, but you can get a nice big house with a pool, which is what I would want. But I live here, so it's different from vacation home, right? But I would say, yeah.
That's your hot tip, Alhaurín de la Torre. And Alhaurín de la Torre has when you look at it on a map, it looks like it's kind of a little bit out of the main the coastline, but it's there's a very good connection with the motorway, isn't there? To that,
definitely.
Yeah.
And it's still close to Malaga, still close to the airport. So it's not an area I've sold a lot of properties, but it's an interesting area for me.
And final question for you then, 2026, how do you see the market going?
I think we're still going to have the shortage of stock, where we anticipate that the Americans going to come in force and come in higher than they did before. But the stock will be an issue. What we see now is as well, some vendors and some agents are very optimistic with their listing price. They overprice the property, which means that the property is going to be on the market for quite some time, and then they have to lower the price and lower the price. And the gap between asking price and actual sale price, I think it's bigger than ever before. When I started, we could negotiate 6-7% off. Now we can make an offer 15%. Of course, it depends on the vendor situation and everything. But sellers and some agents are more optimistic with their pricing than the reality is. So I think that's a negative point as well.
So do you think it's shifting from a purely seller's market to sort of a hybrid between seller's market and buyer's market?
Slowly. It's been a seller's market for a long time, and it's going to be for a long time, but it's slowly shifting, and the buyers are more picky. They know what they want. They know what their money is worth. And now, especially when you have a bit more transparency with the notary website, that you can actually go in and have a look. Well, this is the square meter price in this area, and this is how many properties sold. I think that will be a huge advantage for buyers as well. But the most important, you have to have a good buyer's agent that knows the area, that knows what the prices are and should be. So when it comes to making an offer on a property, you'll get the best price.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.